Uh, yeah, just so excited to have Tiffany with us today. She's been coming to the network meetings for quite a while, and I think everybody is always just so blown away by her passion for food systems, for gardening, hunting, foraging. She has many talents and passions, and is always so excited to share them. And so we're very excited to have her to share today on the topic of seed saving. And I'm just going to read some of the bio that Tiffany put together to give you an idea of some of the experience that she's bringing. So she has 10 years of experience in growing food on her 1-acre property and helping on the family farm. She studied permaculture, is finishing her diploma in herbalism, and is now helping manage a community garden. She is passionate about all aspects of growing food, including soil health, seeds, permaculture, chickens, hunting, foraging, herbalism, and food preservation. She started saving seeds out of necessity and interest a few years into gardening, and now it has grown into a love of diversity and collecting favorite or rare seeds. So today she's put together a really beautiful presentation to share some of that with us on kind of the beginner side of things. And then I think we'll have time for questions if there are specific topics that you want to bring forward to have a discussion about. We'll have time for that as well. So I will hand it over to Tiffany.
Very much, and thank you for the welcome, Vera. Sorry, now my voice is going to start cracking. I spent many hours in the garden yesterday, and I might have inhaled some soil, so my throat's a little dry. Okay, I will share my screen. We will get into. Oh. So thank you for that lovely welcome. Yes, I love seed saving. I've been saving my own seeds for many years, mostly after the few accidental trips to Seedy Saturday and spending hundreds of dollars. And yeah, I thought it'd be beneficial to maybe. And unfortunately, Seedy Saturdays are not happening at the moment. They're one of my favorite places to go. So yes, so yeah, I'm Tiffany Gee. I'm from the Comox First Nation. I am Coast Salish and Arugula on my father's side, and apparently Ojibwe a little on my mom's side. But I'm mostly connected to my Comox roots. I am a wife and a mother of 3. Teenagers now. I have a 1-acre property, and it's been in my husband's family since 1885. It's a small parcel that's left out of 600 acres that was first purchased in 1885. And I currently have a 3,000 square foot garden, plus my chickens, plus my flower garden. And then also we are actually, we're putting in a food forest this year. So that's going to be a lovely new garden on the property. So I'm studying to be a master herbalist through the Wild Rose College of Natural Healing. I'm working on my first diploma as a practical herbalist. Also, I study permaculture on the side. However, my background is actually in business management and finance. This is also just one part of my hobby. I am also very interested in investments and budgeting. So this is just one side of my brain. I am also a hunter. My husband and I started hunting many years ago. We mainly hunt wild game, and so deer, elk, moose, bear, and whatnot. Yeah, and I'm also an avid forager. I love mushroom hunting mainly. So yeah, I'm an all-around plant nerd. So what we'll be talking about today, I'm going into the basics and the beginner of seed saving. So what I want to cover is why we want to save seeds, planning for your seed saving, types of plants, types of seeds, how to harvest, and also how to keep and preserve them. However, I will say I didn't get into specifics of different types of fruits and vegetables because there are So many different varieties. We can be here a week, a month, maybe. So any specific questions, don't be afraid to ask about. However, this will kind of be an umbrella for most seed saving, and it'll give you a basic for different types of seeds. So, but if there's anything specific for a specific fruit or vegetable, don't be afraid to ask. Or you might get the basics, and then you can kind of go from there and go Google on more about it. Okay, so why we want to save seeds. One, saving money, as I said. Seeds, even though they're only, two, three, four, five, six, $7 a pack, it really adds up when you account for the dozens of different types of fruits and vegetables you want to be saving, or sorry, planting, and then the different varieties of each. So it does start to accumulate, and it's a wonderful way to save money. Genetic diversity. When you start to find fruits and vegetables that you love, if you love that one type of corn, and you can save that one type to keep that one type specifically going. Climate adaptation. So certain vegetables you might not be able to grow everywhere. So when you find something that works perfect in your garden that might you never have any issues with, you want to continue to keep that going. So you find that one thing that works really well in your garden. You can choose the best type of fruits and vegetables that you want when you're getting into more specific varieties. Always good way to feed the bees. When you let your plants go to flower, it gives the bees more food. Uh, Also, there's a lovely community around seed saving. You can find seed swaps. You got the Seedy Saturdays, seed savers societies. It's a lovely, lovely group of people that you can really find. And also even just with your own community, having certain members that are really into seed saving and keeping that going, because it really keeps certain varieties going. And I know they say that there's thousands of different types of tomatoes or potatoes, yet what you actually find in seed catalogs or at your local gardening store is only a small percentage. So you really kind of can create a good community out of all different types of seed saving. Food security. So one thing that we learned during the first portion of the COVID pandemic, when everything started to really close down, there was a huge a loss in, oh, no, sorry, not loss, but people weren't able to find seeds. Everybody was buying up. You got the COVID gardeners really starting to get out there, find whatever they could. Thankfully, I had a large abundance of different seeds, and I minimally bought my seeds whenever I found something that I wanted. However, I had all of the seeds I needed. So it can really save you in a pinch, or to start planning for emergency preparedness. Also early garden starting. Sometimes garden centers don't get their seeds out until maybe even around now. So you can get a good start on things, and also feeling empowered. I love being able to know that the seeds that I'm starting this year are seeds that I saved from last year, which one of my favorite crops that I do is my garlic, and I've been saving the seeds and replanting my garlic for I think 8 years now. So I know that one bulb of garlic I bought 8 years ago is still feeding my family today. Okay, so planning for seeding seeds. So one reason why, well, we thought it was a good idea to have this now, even though you might not be saving your seeds until later on in the year, you want to plan now, because you will have to save certain plants to let go to seed. So you know that you're going to keep and keep certain varieties and certain plants for seed saving. Utilizing the plants that may have gone bad. So knowing that even though a plant, sorry, I have dogs. Even though you might see some plants that have gone bad and you would think to maybe compost them, you know that you can now like pre-plan to bring those into the house and put aside for seed saving. You would want to know what plants you're going to save seeds from, mostly when you're planning your garden, and what's going to be planted where. Certain plants cannot be put together, mostly squash, for an instance. You cross-pollinate very, very easily. And then you know to start with easy crops. You can start to specifically like put on a list which ones you want to save seeds from, whether it's peas or beans, lettuce, squash, cucumber. And even though squash is a hard one when it comes to the cross pollination, it's an easy vegetable to save seeds from. Okay, so the different types of plants. Um, Plants will produce seeds at different times, different rates, and in different ways, depending on the types of plants. So you want to know whether your plant is an annual, biannual, or perennial. So peas are an easy one. You can save seeds right from the one plant within that year, easy peasy. Um, eh, However, the biannuals and perennials do get a little harder, mostly the biannuals, because you will have to keep those um, vegetables in the ground for a whole year. Even though you've cleaned your garden and you've harvested all you wanted, you're going to leave a little spot for next year. And then perennials, those ones you are a lot easier because you plant them, you leave them, and they will continue to produce all year round every year. I'm on my second year of my asparagus, and it's one thing that's very, very exciting to me. Asparagus takes 3 years to really start producing, but once it starts, you can't stop. Same with rhubarb. So yeah, knowing that your plants are an annual, biannual, it's the biennials that you really have to focus on. However, the annuals, those are always, a one and done, so you can plant, grow, and harvest and then save the seeds. Then there's different types of pollination that you have to watch out for. So, plants are, so when you're classifying your plants as cross-pollinating or self-pollinating, you kind of have to pre-plan for that, even though um, cross-pollinated or an open pollinated plants, could be a good thing and a bad thing. So self-pollinating is when they produce flowers, they have both the male and female parts. I didn't get too much into the anatomy of a plant. However, if you guys have any questions about that, I can also answer. But so they can kind of pollinate its own plant. So, and that can be lettuce, beans, peas, grains, tomatoes, and peppers. Um, but then the cross-pollinated and open-pollinated, like corn, squashes, beets, Swiss chard, carrots, leeks, and so on. They do cross-pollinate. Some plants need to be cross-pollinated. And then there's some that you don't want to have cross-pollinate. So the difference, some cross-pollinating, mostly with different species, is mainly what I'm talking about. You don't want those to um, be cross-pollinated just because it will produce hybrids. However, plants like corn, they do need to be cross-pollinated, but you just want to keep it within the one variety that you're wanting to grow. So that's when you need to plan for having different varieties of that plant in different areas. Or they say squash can be cross-pollinated very easily from very far away, because you got to think of the how far a bee is going to travel. So if you're wanting to save seeds from a specific variety of plants, knowing that it can be cross-pollinated with another variety that will create a hybrid, it's best just to maybe plan for that one specific fruit or vegetable in that in your garden at one time. I know with our farm and my garden and whatnot, I'll plan to plant, say, one type of squash, and we'll plant another type of squash up the farm. Or if I remember one year I was growing a sweet corn, and yet my neighbors were growing popcorn. So I got really afraid that they were gonna cross pollinate and I'd get some funky corn. So I hope that this is where it gets a little bit technical, but I did want to make sure that everyone was aware of the pollinating, because it can get a little iffy, but don't be too worried about it. If it only really is an issue um, if you're saving seeds and they happen to be cross-pollinated, it's okay sometimes just for if it's just for you. However, if you're going to sell the seeds, or if you're selling produce, or you are um, giving produce away that it's a guarantee this is what it is, because some people might also save the seeds out of the fruits and vegetables that you give away. So you really want to make sure, but if it's just for you in your own garden, I wouldn't worry about it too much, but it is something to be aware of.
Tiffany, I just have a question for you. Hi, nice to see you. I was just wondering, if we don't have a lot of bees, are there certain plants that we need to be manually pollinating, or does the wind do it? Like, how does that happen?
No, that's so you can self or hand pollinate. You can do so you can pollinate, say, squash by taking a little paintbrush, and you get the pollen on it. Then you go to the male plant and you brush um the oh gosh, sorry. I get a little stage fright when I do these, so words tend to drop out of my brain. But yeah, you can do it with a paintbrush. There's different types of you don't. So bees are not the only pollinator as well. I will say there's also mason bees. Lots of different types of insects will pollinate. Even butterflies and so there's lots of different types. I would recommend getting a mason bee house. Mason bees are what I usually focus on and try to keep in my garden. Um, but there's also yeah, depending on what it is, you can also, they say one of the tricks for making sure your corn is getting pollinated is to go every day, go out and shake them. So you just go shake whatever it is to get the all of the pollen going from one plant to another. Okay, so I hope that helps. Okay, so there are different types of seeds that you will be working with. So some are easy, some are hard. So here's where we get into the fun of it though. So you have the wet seeds, which are the seeds that are encased in some type of gel membrane, and it's really protecting those seeds. So those would be like the tomatoes and cucumbers, peppers, squash. So anything that you'd cut into and it's kind of encased in a gel membrane. And then we have the dry seeds, which some of you might be aware of, which are beans and peas and grains and so on. Any flowers as well, and carrots and anything that would grow in like an umbel. So you have the numerous different types, or sorry, flower heads. Kind of looks like the umbrella. Those will also be. Um, think of what else, but those are the basics that most people will get into. Okay, so harvesting and drying seeds. This is where things get a little more technical. So when it comes to harvesting the seeds, once you know you have your fruit or vegetable that you want to keep the seeds of, and I think I mentioned it earlier, but I will say, even if your vegetables have gone bad, mostly, or if you think they haven't always. Sometimes cucumbers, for instance, will turn yellow and almost swell if they're kept too long. Those you can still keep the seeds from. And even tomatoes, when you think they've kind of gone bad, those are the ones that you know you can kind of leave and get into. So once you've selected your plants for seed, you can also and you can also collect seeds from vegetables that you're even eating. So you don't need some vegetables, you don't even need to, you know, keep certain ones. So for squash, for instance, you can still all the lovely meaty parts are still good for eating. You can just scrape out your seeds, put those away, cook your dinner, and then deal with the seeds after. So you don't always have to, that fruit or vegetable doesn't always have to be something that is going to waste. So you would scrape the seeds out onto a paper towel, a plate, or into a bowl or anything that you know can keep it confined in. And then you can rinse it out. So there's two different types of ways that you want to keep your seeds when it comes to wet. Uh, for instance, tomatoes and things like peppers, things that are harder to get out of that that membrane. Sorry, gel, not shell. But anything that's harder to get out of that membrane, you would ferment. So you would put it in a bowl or a cup or something, fill it with water, and then wait until it starts to almost bubble and almost mold, and give it a stir every day, and it will start to separate. Or just like in the picture, you can simply rinse. When it comes to cucumbers, I would put it into a strainer, and you just kind of swivel it around under some water, and things will start to separate. And that's when you put it onto a paper towel, something that will soak up the moisture, and you let it rest until it's completely dry. And this is where you want to be very careful in making sure it is dry, because it can mold. And if those seeds mold, then they are no longer good. So you want to make sure that they are completely dry. So it's just you checking on them every day, making sure none are being stuck together. So you can just kind of swivel it around with your hand every once in a while, and just check on them and make sure that they're not molding. And that's when you can, once they're dry, you collect them and package them up. So the wet ones are a little harder, but then you can get into the the dry seeds. So these will be your peas and beans and whatnot. So so peas and beans, you can actually let them dry um, on the plant. So I just kind of harvest as the season goes, and whatever is left on the plant at the end of the year will have dried up, similar to the picture in the middle. And those ones you can harvest, and you bring in, and open them up, and make sure that the everything is dry, and by putting them, um, I have a old pan that I use, and I just kind of place them all over my pan and leave out to just to make sure that they're dry. However, if they are drying in the pod, they will pretty much be completely dry when you go to harvest. Yeah, and then when it comes to the umbrels, anything that is drying on a flower, you can, once that fruit has gone to seed, you just clip those flowers off. You can wrap them up or tie them all together and hang them upside down somewhere and let those dry. Once the flowers have dried, I like to place in a paper bag, and I just shake it up. and all of the seeds will come out. You compost the dried flower pods, and then you'll just end up with a big bag of seeds. You can also use different ways to collecting the seeds. Some people even just do it in a like a pillowcase or a sheet, anything that will collect all the tiny, tiny little seeds. Because yeah, when you're shaking it up, they can go everywhere. So I'm trying to think of what else can be that's a little bit different, but you'll mainly have the pods and the flower seeds. So those are the two different types when you're harvesting the dry seeds that you have to think of. And oh, and also this will also one thing that can kind of be an in-between will be something like garlic. Um, but mostly that is something that that's more dry. When you harvest your garlic, you would obviously let all of your garlic dry and just kind of you take your say the biggest bulbs for the seeds. And then yeah, you plant for the next year, and you keep 1 or 2 bulbs or however many you know you're going to want, and that will keep your garlic going for every year as well. So the bulbs are a little bit different, even though you are saving seed from the garlic, but you're kind of saving a piece of the garlic. This will also there's also different ways of keeping plants going by just cutting off certain pieces. So if horseradish is one that's easy to do. You buy a piece of horseradish, you chop it up, or even ginger is another one. You buy your ginger and chop it up, and you can just plant it, and it will spread some roots and grow another plant. So that's kind of a different way. It's not so much seed saving, but it is a way of reproducing that plant. Oh, I'm going quicker than I thought. Sorry. Okay, so storing seeds. Many different ways to store seeds. The number one thing that you really have to worry about is that they are, one, labeled. You can label in many different ways. So just make sure that you have the type of vegetable it is, the type of species it is. So you want to know that it's tomato, it's a beefsteak tomato, and then the date. It just needs to be the year mainly. When a seed gets to be, they say, 3 to 7 years old, depending on the type of seed, they're no longer good. However, you can test the viability of seeds, older seeds, but you do want to make sure that you are dating them at least. You also want to make sure you keep them dry. Moldy seeds are not good seeds, and just keeping them dry is number one. But not only worrying about seeds molding, they could also just start to sprout as well, which, yeah, no. And then also keeping them, making sure it's airtight. You don't want to you want to make sure that nothing can get into your case. So whether it's water or pathogens or anything like that, you want to make sure that your seeds are well protected and out of or kept away from any air. And then also keeping them out of the sun. This one, lots of different things can happen with this, but just making sure they're in a cool, dry, dark place is usually the way to go. It can also be stored in a freezer. So this will really prolong the life expectancy of your seed. So just like you can keep them in any container and just putting them in the freezer, make sure that you take them out a few days ahead of time before you plant them, because you might have some issues trying to start frozen seeds. And then make sure that you're looking at your years that your seeds will be good for. So, and this would also, you would put on your label. So some seeds are good for different amounts of time. I can't think of anything at the top of my head right now, but most seeds are good for a few years. However, there are some that will keep for longer. Mostly if you're also freezing them, you might want to make sure that you know the date, even though your life expectancy will be prolonged. But if you're trying to start anything longer, you can check them by simply putting a few seeds onto a paper towel and then wetting it down and keeping it like that for a few days, making sure you keep wetting it. And any that do sprout, you can know the percentage of, or you can figure out the percentage of your sprouting beet. So if, you know, you plant 10 and say 2 actually come back to life, you might need to plant a lot per hole, or make sure that you're just using all of them up even. But if you try for 10 and you have 8 sprout, then you know you have some better chances of your fruit coming alive. Any questions so far?
I got some questions. This slideshow that you're doing right now, Tiffany, this picture of your seed storage, is that yours?
Yes, it is.
It is?
And yes, this is mine. Yeah.
I like that, how it's all set up, because I still have seeds that we got this season. And now I'm gonna have to go look and properly store them, because I have lots left over, and I want to preserve them as much as we can, because they can be expensive, and
No.
yeah, it's like I didn't get them, but Allison got them. But yeah, I'm gonna look into getting this for that. Sorry to get off topic here. On your
Oh, no,
garlic
actually,
part, on your
I-
garlic
I-
part,
yeah.
do you keep it out like on your counter, or do you keep it in the fridge?
Oh, so just like potatoes and whatnot, I let them dry in a dark place that's, you know,
Yeah.
just out of the sun, out of any moisture,
Mhm.
or, you know, a dark, dry place. And then once they're dry, I bring them in, I clean them. So I take off the
Mhm.
stalks and turn them into a lovely, pretty ball.
Mhm.
I store them in a paper bag at the bottom of my pantry. And
Okay.
and they keep all year round, if not more. You do have to check on them sometimes, mostly if there's still moisture, they will start to get little
Yeah.
spots or whatnot, or start to not look so pretty. So those ones will be used right away. But I reuse like a Thrifty's paper bag,
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
or whatever you can find. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the next slide is actually some ideas for you to
Where did you
different
get
ways to
that
start.
cool thing, Tiffany?
Pardon?
Where did you get that cool case? And the
Oh,
extreme
Yeah.
organization on the back, I have to say, I'm just overwhelmed by
I know.
that is.
I
um,
like it too.
so this I actually got from Amazon. It is a picture case. I believe I posted the link on the Facebook page a bit ago. I can send the link out for this again, but I think I originally got the idea from an Instagram page that I follow called Homestead and Chill, and they talk about this on their website. But I believe it was, if you if you search on Amazon, like photo cases, this will pop up. And we actually got, I think 5 of these for Comox when we started the seed bank, and we got rainbow colored ones though, so you can get different colors, which is a lot of fun. This is just the simple white one, and I do have a few of these, and I label them, and I also cut out the growing chart from the West Coast Seeds catalog, and I just taped it onto my box, so I can just go and check that out. And as I go through my seeds, oh yeah, this is good to plant. You know, find the which case, you know, has whatever seed I want to plant, and it's all right there, right in front of me, easy peasy. I'm not, you know, juggling 5 different things. Then, so after that, some other types of storage. So you don't need the lovely seed case always. You can reuse a lot of different things around the house, like jars, any glass containers, really. Old spaghetti sauce jars or something, Ziploc bags. But Ziploc bags, you got to be careful with. I'd even wrap you know, put the seeds in a Ziploc bag, make sure there's no air, and then still put it in a jar. Storage bins, you know, the small Rubbermaid bins, or any something even from the dollar store. If you want little bottles, you can reuse vitamin bottles or pill bottles. And then also reusing any other plastic containers like margarine tubs, or, oh yeah, lots of ways to reuse things around your house when it comes to saving your seeds. However, I do like my case. I will say with the case, the big upside to this one, I can take the whole thing right out to the garden with me. There's a little carrying handle. I go out to the garden, have everything right in front of me. And if it starts to rain or anything, I know that all of my other seeds are protected, and I can take a lot of seeds with me to the garden at one time, because it is a very nicely packed and organized case. Whereas jars and whatnot, you might be, you know, overwhelmed with, you know, taking out a heavy box, or who knows. But I did like my case. So yeah, just from Amazon. I believe the price kind of goes up and down every once in a while. I've seen them between $10 to $50. So it's something to watch out for if they do go on sale, or if you find another brand or something that is cheaper. And I went to Staples and got a label maker, and that's what I label with. And yeah, if there's any more questions, I'm happy to answer. So thank you. Yeah, I ran through that a little quicker than I thought. I'm sorry. So yeah, pick my brain.
So thank you for all the information. This is Michelle Robinson. I really wanted to learn how to do this, and you just, you know, it's kind of like I did. Yeah, I'm so appreciative to this because of our community garden and how we can, you know, again, every year it's that issue of either finding plants or starting from seed or whatever. So thank you for this very much, Naut'sa. And I was curious about strawberries because for my own personal, and I have to deck garden where at my home, and my grandkids love strawberries, and I don't like rebuying them every year. Sorry about that. Would it be the same for them just to put them in the paper towel, or would it be better for the fermenting? That's my question.
No, they should be good with the paper towel. It is very tedious to pick out the little seeds. I would recommend even just finding someone that might have a baby. They do reproduce by their rhizomes. So one strawberry plant will send out another little strawberry plant, and they reproduce very quickly just by the plant itself. So you might just want to find a strawberry plant, and just know that you're going to take care of it for years and years. They are perennials. Like right now, oh, I actually had to post on, I saw a post on Facebook, somebody looking for strawberry plants, and my strawberry plants have spread so bad they're getting into my pathways. So it's just fine. You can even just buy one plant and then don't pick it. Pick the just the fruit that comes off of it, but the plant itself, keep it, and it will reproduce for years. So it is a perennial.
Yeah, thank you. Sometimes I have 3 cats, so
Oh, um, oh, there's lot of different lovely ways of planning for or for growing strawberries. I've seen I think it was on Pinterest. If you Google different ways to grow strawberries, you can grow them in like little like reused gutters along or PVC pipe. You can grow them up. They also grow really well in a pot. Um, and then even if they do start sending out little baby shoots, you can take those and replant those. So it's also a great one to plant in yeah, or a box, or if you have a raised bed, you could also put some sort of netting over it. Uh, so that might help also. So yeah, you can look at growing them up or like high up in a pot, or if they're in a raised bed, just keep them covered with like a bird netting so they can't get in there.
thank you.
Yeah, no
Thank
problem.
you very much.
And there's a comment in the chat there too, Tiffany. I don't know if you saw that. I think about when is a good time to plan? What soil do they like most for hope blue corn?
Okay, so with corn, they don't like super acidic soil. It's just amending your soil every year with a good compost is always good. Corn specifically, each different types of varieties of corn are not usually you know, they don't like different things. So anything with just a specific corn, just a good composted soil. I amend mine every year. You don't need to get too technical with corn. Yeah, just a good nutrient soil. That's usually all. Always looking at fertilizing also. I fertilize with a fish um concoction, which is one of my favorite ways to go. But saving seed from corn is one of my favorites to save seeds from, and I I've seen a lots of documentaries about the loss of different types of rare corns, and always trying to plan for those amazing and beautiful corns aside from like a sweet corn and whatnot. But you can find some beautiful, yeah, the blue and the glass corns. It's however, with the corn, I would make sure that you only plant the one type and make sure that there's nothing around for cross-pollination, mostly if you want to specifically keep that one variety going.
Is that like completely on its own? Like you wouldn't want to plant it around any other plants, or just kind of specific plants that are known to cross-pollinate?
Just no other corn plants. So just like any animal, most veggies cannot, you know, cross-pollinate with a different type of veggie, but making sure it's not around a different type of corn. So if you plant a blue corn by a yellow corn, even though there's a good chance that it will grow, it'll just either grow really funny or they'll grow different types of colors, and then you're not getting the plant that you originally planted.
What about rhubarb? What kind of fertilizer would you use for rhubarb plants?
Oh, I wasn't, fertilizer, you know what? I wouldn't even worry about it. I have
No?
tried to kill rhubarb
What?
and it still comes back. My rhubarb, I haven't touched ever, and I still get big, beautiful rhubarb. Rhubarb's one of those ones that they don't care. They will grow in a dump pile.
Really? Well, my husband separated ours, so now we have 5 plants.
Yeah.
And he, you know, somebody had said that their aunt used to put a cardboard box over them, like this time of the year, to get them to grow a little bit faster. But I just wondered.
you can cover them, or those rhubarb will keep going. Usually, yeah, you can use those things and it won't care. So you can not take care of them and they will still keep coming back. I wouldn't be too worried about your rhubarb.
Yeah.
I've tried to move mine many times, and I have the original rhubarb that I tried to move is still coming up every year, and it's in a spot I really don't want it. I'm gonna have to, yeah. Their roots go so deep, kind of like a dock. It will come with a vengeance every year.
We've had ours for over 40 years. It started with one plant. So now we've sort of separated them, and there are people that want to plant. So that's why we've had to do this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I think they take a couple of years before they grow properly if you separate them, divide the plant.
Oh yeah, you can divide and separate. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
well, it's funny because I had a clump of soil that I was moving some plants into another section, and in this pot I there was still a bit of soil in it, and I noticed yesterday that I have a baby rhubarb growing out of it. So I must have got, and I've never watered this pot. It's just been sitting outside last summer, and a baby rhubarb is growing. They're easy. Kind of like I was talking about with the horseradish. You can take a root, chop it up into many pieces, and throw it into whatever soil wherever you are, and rhubarb will sprout, and you will never get rid of it. Oh, I see a question. Chris. I was gifted tobacco seed starts in an egg carton, then plant. What kind of area soil? Oh, okay, so when it comes to medicinal herbs and well, in tobacco, sorry, I wasn't prepared for soil questions. I wouldn't, some things you have to be very specific with the soil, like blueberries and certain things love acidic soils. And I would, anything that is acidic loving, like rhododendrons, sorry, I guess that's a flower. Uh, Strawberries, blueberries and whatnot, like really acidic soil, but most just like a good healthy compost type soil. So I would just stick with a good, I'm a big advocate for compost. It is actually my main soil I use. I will buy like a topsoil or something for my garden, but then I will amend with compost on top. I do the same for almost all of my gardens, and then I will fertilize for normal plants and herbs and whatnot. I will fertilize with a fish fertilizer. But those acidic loving plants, that's what I'll go buy like a rhododendron fertilizer. So it's so, and I would use that rhodo fertilizer for my acidic loving plants, like the blueberries and whatnot. But for most, I think it's just making sure that you put on a good bone meal, a good fish fertilizer, and top up with a good amount of some healthy, good new compost. I compost just once a year. Or sorry, I will amend my beds with a compost just once a year. So that's usually the only soil prep that I'm doing. But most, yeah, I think you can go for like a typical, like just good healthy and robust soil every, at the beginning of every year. And you fertilize once or twice when it's a baby, and then you don't need to fertilize once it's big. But if it is a perennial, go back and fertilize and amend every year. But yay for tobacco. Oh, no, sorry. She just said that she's apologizing for taking us off topic, but no, that's all right. I'm always happy to talk soil health and compost as well. I just wasn't prepared for it. But yeah, I think once a year, just amend with I get a good amount of compost, whether it's fish compost, mushroom compost. I'm usually careful of getting composted manure. If it's not composted long enough, I had this issue once and I bought horse manure and it wasn't composted down for long enough and my garden got riddled with weeds, and I'm still recovering from that. So I try to stick with getting I found locally, they're Vancouver Island Enterprises. I don't know how far they go for anyone that's around the Comox Valley. They might go to Campbell River and whatnot, but they have a beautiful, recently certified organic compost that I just bought 2 yards yesterday. So finishing up my herb bed and amending some of my other beds in my greenhouse.
Okay, I got a question for you. Your course that you're taking, the herbal part,
Yeah.
once you're done that, are you going to do another Zoom to help incorporate with people that are into that kind of, I don't know.
The medicinal tea?
Yeah, and then traditional parts too with traditional plants. I know Jeannie Paul did one for traditional medicines, but I mean like traditional plants that we want to grow in our yard. Like for myself, I bought berry bushes, and I still have to find a place to put them because they don't like direct sunlight, and I get so much sun. I'm thinking maybe on the other side between my neighbors, but I don't want to do that because they like to drive to me, so I have to find a place. Yeah, I just wanted to know if you're going to be doing another one later on. And if we could get a slideshow of your copy of your slideshow, because some of those things are really good points that I'd like to share with my community gardeners that are out there that couldn't, well, if they have Facebook, I'm sure they can go on, and I'm going to tell them to look that up too. I want to put that out to the community as well. But yeah.
The link for the seed case, and yeah, I'll make sure that the slideshow gets to Melissa so she can send it out. However, more Zooms, if they want, I'm around. I am doing my thesis on Devil's Club, so I can maybe, hopefully, if I do well, I can specifically do one on Devil's Club, maybe with my thesis. And I was just gifted a big pot of camas. I've never really done anything with camas, so it's going to be one thing that I'm going to try and play around with. So maybe I'll have some information on camas. But when it comes to if specifically growing and maintaining a medicinal herbal garden, that is something I can definitely try to look into as I do mine. When we're talking about tobacco or getting into, maybe even just the easier stuff, like maybe not traditional, but medicinal nonetheless. One of my favorites I grow every year is Elecampane, and I have hollyhock and lemon verbena and catmint and sage and whatnot. So yeah, there's a few things I can touch on.
Nice. Well, I'll wait for it and look forward to that. Great presentation.
Can I ask you about potatoes? Potato seeds, like just for saving, because we always end up, we're just new at this gardening thing. How would we go about saving for next year's potatoes? Just draw that extra, take the extra out of our crop, and how would we store that? Like, what would we do with our potatoes?
Okay, so potatoes. It's a very easy one. You can just they say take the biggest. So if you plan to save your seeds from potatoes, it's something that you have to pre-plan for just in case. Because you want to save the biggest ones. They have the genetic knowledge to grow big. So you want the ones that you want to grow big. You would just take however many potatoes you would want. You can chunk it up. But you would keep your potatoes whole. You would store them in a dark, dry place. I keep them actually with my my garlic, or sorry, not with my garlic, but in a different bag beside my garlic. And when you're ready to plant, you would take your potato and cut them up. You don't plant right away, cut up maybe the day before so they kind of scab over in a way. If you don't let them scab over properly, then they can mold. So you let them sit out and just kind of dry up a little bit. And then you want to let them also what they call chitting. So when you've kind of kept them for long enough, take them out, put them in you would cut it up and put it in a sunny spot. You could also do the chitting before you cut it up as well. And that's when they start to produce those little eyes, and that's when they start to sprout. And you can leave them out. And one thing that people do without that I'm always sad to see, when you have your potatoes that have just started sprouting all of the little fingers, some people think that when the potato starts to shrivel up and die, it's no longer good. However, those ones are still good to plant and use as seeds. So even if you have old potatoes that you forgot about in your pantry, even, you can take those and actually plant them. And there are ways to grow potatoes all year around as well. So it's not a seasonal thing. I grow this year. I'm actually testing growing my potatoes in bags and not topping up with soil, but with straw. So I'm not having to thumble around with the heavy soil all the time, and it's less digging. So potatoes might actually, mostly growing potatoes in bags might even be a good way to work with the elders on growing potatoes, just because, in the bag specifically. So there's less digging and just less work. But yeah, potatoes are super easy. Once you've done it once or twice, you'll be a pro.
Okay, so when you said you cut it up and you put it in a sunny spot, then it'll start growing eyes, you said? Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
It'll kind of come to life.
So would it take like a few days to do that? It's like you just have to wait a few days then? Is that average?
For the chitting, I would take out a few weeks ahead of time.
Few weeks, eh? Okay.
Yeah, and then you kind of leave them out. But you don't technically need to, because it will even just start. I think it just needs a little bit of air and a little bit of sun, and it just like the ones that start sprouting in the bottom of your pantry that you forgot about, months
Yes.
beforehand.
Thank you. That's awesome. I'm going to try that.
There's another question. How about a combination hay and soil? Yeah, you can really, actually, one thing that I talked about with, I think with someone else, it was actually how to kind of fill garden boxes without having to fill it all with soil. You can, one of the things that I'm a really big advocate for is lasagna gardening. So that is layering, and you can even, this is where you can also get into hugelkultur. So layering wood, but also newspaper. I would use straw over hay just because it's less expensive. It might not be dried totally down, so you might get riddled with a lot of seeds and sprouts. So I would specifically use straw because it's been dried and compressed. But yeah, you can mix everything together. So in my greenhouse, I actually just mulched down with some hay that I had left over from filling up my chicken coop. And then I topped it off with some wood chips that I had left over. And then I will put my compost on top of that. And then it will all kind of compost down, and then I top up next year. So it's really just layering and giving your soil some life. Mostly if you're just using soil. I specifically do keep to 100% compost. And then I just top up every year.
I think this might be a good time to add as well that Tiffany is doing some one-on-one support with the Naut'sa Tribal Council Food Network. So if any of these topics have really piqued your interest, then that is available too. And we're so grateful to Tiffany to be able to offer that. As you can see, she has a wealth of knowledge about many gardening topics. So just wanted to put that out there as well.
And it's mainly because I read a lot. I'm usually kind of a bookkeeper by trade, and I'll watch YouTube videos while I'm doing data entry, or I have a giant library full of books I'm constantly reading. I do a lot of reading at night, so it was a lot of self-study for the last 10 years, I guess.
The one-on-one sessions that you just mentioned, is that through Zoom or is that through private, like Facebook, or how are you doing that one-on-one?
Through Zoom.
Through Zoom.
Yeah, and if need be, I'm happy to. If anyone's close, I don't mind coming and looking around the garden as well.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. What's your top 12 for gathering and keeping seeds? Oh, my top 12. That's a hard one. Garlic is my number one. I think that I really, really try to keep, only because I've been working with a very specific variety for many years. Potatoes is one of my favorites just because it is so easy. I actually did get potato seeds. If you look at the Machosen farm in Machosen, they actually have a potato experiment happening, and I got a pack of potato seeds, and every single seed will produce a new potato. So I'm going to start working on that one and actually growing potato from seed for the first time though. And then I will continue to keep those ones, and I want to create comops, their own potato. Peas and beans, those ones, of course. Corn, that's 5. I have lots of flowers that I do as well. I have a flower garden. Oh, trying to think. Lettuces. I love my arugula and butter crunch lettuce. Those are 2 that I always keep on hand. Also, radishes and turnips. Those ones are huge in the family. The kids, they're big. Those are big popular ones, but those are the ones at the top of my head. But also ginger is something I tried for the first time last year, and ginger was successful in my greenhouse. Oh, and peppers, lots of peppers. We're huge hot sauce people. So I love the different varieties of hot peppers, like the Carolina Reapers, and jalapenos is one of my favorites. And then if you're getting to the medicinals, last year, sorry, I live in farm country. she's dropping by. I did a what I called a fire cider garden. So I did cayenne pepper, horseradish, and whatnot. So I had everything I needed in one little garden to make fire cider. So peppers are always up there as well. So yeah, there's some of my favorites. Yeah, arugula. Yeah, and it's delicious. It's one of my favorite go-to lettuces.
It almost happened by accident. I grew arugula for the first time and it bolted and started going to seed, and I didn't know what was happening. And then I looked closely and was like, these look like little seed pods. And so by chance, I just saved some of them. So happy accident. And there's now some sprouts growing this year.
Well, and then some plants, you just leave them and let them bolt and go to seed, and you don't actually take that in. Those seeds can end up everywhere, and you'll get surprise little plants all over. I actually have a fennel growing in the middle of my onion garden this year. So, but I grew fennel in that garden the prior year, and now I have a random fennel, which is okay. I love fennel. I love fennel tea and chopping up fennel and putting them on pizza and whatnot. Oh, and I will say, onions. I am a huge advocate for just starting by buying the bulbs. I've tried to plant the seeds. I've tried to buy seedlings. I've tried so many ways, and I fail every year. So 100%, I'm a huge advocate for just buying the bulbs, the little sets. So I planted my sets, and I have a huge crop of onions coming up already. So sometimes it is easier to buy certain things too. So, and I still buy seeds. I still buy starters. It's you know, nothing to be ashamed of.
Any other questions for Tiffany? This has been, I think, our most robust question and discussion time. It's awesome. I know I've learned a lot. And any more questions that we have for Tiffany?
Well, if anything comes to mind later on, don't be afraid to message as well, or yeah, we could always plan a one-on-one if you would like, even if it's just to continue a discussion on, you know, the seed saving or anything else. Chris is asking, how do we book a one-on-one? Just message Melissa.
If you want, I think, Tiffany, to just message you directly, that would work for us. That way everybody can just, it doesn't have to be a middle person.
Yeah, you can just
message for you, Tiffany?
Yeah. Here, I will type in my email address if I remember it.
I think that went direct to me, but I'll send it to.
Oh,
I can send
sorry.
it to
Oh, I didn't notice I had it just on you, everyone. There we go. I didn't look at that. There we go. Yeah, so you guys are welcome to message me, and I've done one so far, and it went really well, and I just pretty much let her pick my brain, and so yeah, thank you guys.
Awesome. Well, big thank you to you, Tiffany, for sharing all of that. And I'm just seeing some, oh yeah, and so one thing to point out too, that Naut'sa will be covering Tiffany's time, so there's no cost to anyone who will be looking for that one-on-one support. That is through the Food Network, so important to let you know that. And I think, Bronwyn, did we want to do the little prize draw? Do you want to well, I guess so we kind of just thought of like an impromptu gift, I guess, of seeing how much everyone was interested in these cool seed boxes that Tiffany had. If anyone on the call today is interested, maybe just pop your email in the chat or your mailing address in the chat, and we can get you one of those through the Naut'sa Food Network. So if you are interested in having the cool a real fancy seed saving photo basket, let us know and we'd be happy to make that happen for you.
Yeah, and if you don't want to put your mailing address in the chat, then you could also just send it to Melissa and we'll coordinate and get out an order. So maybe by a show of hands, who would be interested in that? So we can keep track. Ella, anyone else looking for a cool seed box? Chris, great. Okay, awesome. If anyone else has buyer's remorse afterwards, or wait, whatever, the non-buyer's remorse, then let us know. But otherwise, we'll reach out to Ella and Chris and make sure you get those.
I posted a link to one, but I just realized it was one of the more expensive ones. But pretty much that's the one. But there's numerous different buyers and different brands. So, but that's
that link you sent. If you click on the middle color option, then it's much cheaper and it's free shipping. So
there we go, the $30 one. There we go. Yeah. Oh, it was 3. Sorry, I was trying to quickly sneak and look. They're great, and they're not very big. Where is mine? I tend to leave it around, but yeah, they're not very big, and we did buy 3 for Comox, and yeah, because we recently started a seed bank. So we have numerous little packs. So we pre-pack all of the seeds that we've saved and other seeds as well. And any members that have their own gardens that want some seeds, they can just come to the seed bank instead of buying.
That's awesome. So thank you so much, Tiffany. This was so wonderful, and I'm very excited to share this with others who had asked for the recording. And thank you all for your questions. This was such a great learning time. And I'll follow up with Ella and Chris about the seed baskets. And I see one more question coming through. Maybe I'll do that to Tiffany, and then maybe to close, we'll hand it back over to Vera and Edith for some closing. But maybe we'll do this one last question in the chat first.
So Chris is asking, do you have any seeds in little plastic bags, or have you found little envelopes for the seed case? So the ones, kind of both. I have, from the dollar store, I bought like the little mini Ziploc bags. Or as they used to call them, dime bags when I was a kid. No, the little Ziploc bags. So I do use those for some. There's different ways to make your own little packets, which if you look on YouTube, they have little how-tos on creating some just out of some scrap paper. And then using and reusing different packs that old seeds came in that I've purchased. But yeah, I usually just go to the dollar store and buy those little mini bags and just write on them with a Sharpie.
I just want to share with you what you did for your seed saving and stuff. You know, the small little envelopes, like the little tiny envelopes. I cut them in half and then I divided seeds to the community members. So that was like a lot of work, but still, that's a small little packet that you could, I just had to tape the edges where the flap came down, and that's what I used. But I like the little plastic ones. I have to go down today and check out the seed savings and get mine going to start saving. Thank you again, Tiffany. It was very good.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, Naut'sa. Much appreciated. You guys all have a good weekend.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Bye.
Great seeing everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, and did we want to have just some final words from our elder Vera?
unmute myself. Yes, I want to thank Melissa and Naut'sa for hosting this today, and for Tiffany for all her expertise and good ideas. It was a lot of information, but well worth it. It was an experience for me. And I haven't gardened for years. My husband did last year. He should have been here watching this, but he claims he's not making a garden this year. We'll see. Anyway, I appreciate being on here today, and it was good to see familiar faces. Thank you, and have a good day, everybody.